The city never truly slept. Neon lights reflected on wet streets as hovering cars moved silently above the skyline. In one of the tallest buildings, on the 77th floor, the laboratory of Alara Quinn glowed with a strange, almost ethereal light. She worked alone, her face illuminated by the soft glow of screens and strange devices humming quietly around her. Alara was no ordinary scientist. While most researchers focused on familiar technologies or improving life on Earth, she pursued the impossible. Her obsession was interdimensional travel, the ability to step beyond the boundaries of reality and explore worlds no human had ever touched. Many called her crazy. Some admired her brilliance. Few dared to question her. That night, as the city buzzed below, she adjusted a delicate dial on her newest invention. It was a sleek silver device no bigger than a briefcase with a series of glowing circuits that pulsed like a heartbeat. Alara's fingers danced over the controls. She smiled almost to herself. Just a little more power. Just a little more focus, she whispered. Her green eyes reflected the swirling energy inside the machine. Suddenly the room shivered. A hum filled the air, growing louder and louder until it became a sharp, almost painful ringing. Alara froze, holding her breath. The device's core began spinning, faster and faster until the energy formed a small, swirling portal in the center of the lab. A faint blue light flickered on her face. Kale would never believe this, she murmured. Dr. Kale Rinn, her colleague, was cautious, skeptical, and always worried about her daring experiments. She wished he was there, but deep down she knew he'd argue. Humans, she thought, often feared what they couldn't understand. The portal pulsed, and a strange vibration ran through the lab. Alara reached out a hand, touching the shimmering surface. It felt alive, warm, almost welcoming. She took a deep breath. Curiosity was stronger than fear. She had to see what lay beyond, and then she vanished. 1 second she was there, smiling at her machine. The next, the room was empty. The portal collapsed with a soft, echoing pop, leaving only the faint scent of ozone and a whisper of her laughter. Down the hall, Dr. Kale entered the lab. He had come to check on her after an unusual alert from the lab's AI. He froze. The room was empty. The equipment hummed, but there was no sign of Alara. Alara? His voice trembled. Alara, are you there? No answer. Only the soft, eerie silence of the lab. The monitors blinked, recording the last moments of the experiment, showing the portal forming, and then nothing. Kale's mind raced. He had read the reports, the theories. Interdimensional travel was possible only in simulations, only in theory. Humans had never truly crossed into another dimension, and yet here was evidence. Her disappearance wasn't an accident, it was a breakthrough. Or a disaster. He rushed to the control panel. Every sensor, every camera, every monitor, nothing. Alara had simply vanished. And yet deep inside he felt it. She had survived. Humans, he realized, had a stubborn ability to survive against impossible odds. She had curiosity, intelligence, and courage, a combination no machine or alien could match easily. Outside, the city moved on. The news drones buzzed overhead, capturing bright advertisements and ordinary traffic. Most people didn't even notice the lab's lights flickering in the night. But in the scientific community, whispers began to circulate. Alara Quinn had disappeared. No one knew how or why. Some dismissed it as a tragic accident. Others wondered if she had discovered something beyond comprehension. Meanwhile, in a place that was not quite anywhere, Alara found herself floating. The air was thick, almost liquid, and colors shifted with every breath she took. Gravity seemed uncertain, pulling her gently in different directions. She could see shapes moving in the distance, creatures unlike anything she had imagined, translucent and glowing with forms that bent and twisted. They seemed curious but not hostile. Alara smiled, her fear melting into fascination. She realized immediately, this dimension was alive in ways Earth could never be. Every movement, every sound, every particle seemed to respond to her presence. And yet she felt no threat. Only challenge. Only curiosity. She spoke softly, almost instinctively. I am Alara Quinn. I come in peace. Her voice seemed to carry through the strange environment, reaching creatures she couldn't yet name. Slowly they drifted closer, examining her, shimmering with soft light. She noticed patterns in their movements, almost like a dance, responding to her gestures. She began to understand, not with words, but with intuition. Back on Earth, Kale continued to work tirelessly. He ran simulations, recalibrated the portal device, and communicated with colleagues. Hours passed, the city's neon glow fading as midnight approached. He realized something humans often discovered too late. It wasn't brute force that solved the impossible. It was understanding, insight, curiosity. Humans survive, he whispered, staring at the blinking monitors, because we try even when the odds are impossible. Hours later, he noticed a faint anomaly on the portal readings, a signature of energy that matched the patterns of Alara's device, but distorted, alien. She was alive. She had crossed, but she had left traces, and Kale for the first time understood that her survival depended not just on science, but on the human mind itself. In the alien dimension, Alara explored cautiously. She floated over glowing rivers, past forests of crystal-like trees, and through skies that rippled like water. She discovered objects that seemed alive, responding to her touch. At first, she tested her scientific knowledge, physics, biology, chemistry, but soon realized that this world obeyed rules unlike any she had learned. Curiosity alone was her guide. Her mind was her greatest tool. And then, just as she began to wonder if she was truly alone, she noticed movement in the distance. A creature larger than any building, with skin like molten metal and eyes glowing softly, approached. Fear rose in her chest, but she steadied herself. She raised her hand slowly, smiling. The creature paused, observing her. Its form shimmered and shifted, as if trying to understand her. And then, unexpectedly, it smiled, or at least she thought it did. The first part of a connection had been made. Back on Earth, midnight approached. Kale stared at the portal, exhausted but refusing to give up. Somewhere, somehow, Alara was alive. He believed it. Humans always found a way. In the lab, the lights flickered once more. Somewhere between dimensions, Alara floated, smiling at the impossible world around her. She had vanished from Earth, but she had not vanished from life. And in her smile there was a promise: one day she would return. And when she did, nothing would ever be the same. As the clock struck midnight, the city below was quiet, unaware of the events unfolding just beyond the boundaries of human understanding. Alara's laughter echoed faintly in the alien winds, a sound that carried the truth. Humans are survivors. Humans are explorers. Humans, when faced with the unknown, do not cower. They conquer it with curiosity, courage, and hope. And in that moment, the first part of her incredible journey ended. But her adventure and humanity's triumph had only just begun. Alara Quinn floated gently through the alien sky, her mind racing with both excitement and caution. Every step she took, or rather every movement in this strange, weightless world, revealed new wonders. The colors around her were alive, shimmering and blending in patterns that no human could describe fully. Gravity twisted unexpectedly. Light bent around floating islands. Rivers of liquid energy flowed in curves that defied reason. Yet despite the alien chaos, Alara felt strangely calm. Her human mind, trained to observe, reason, and adapt, was her greatest weapon. She studied everything carefully: the motion of floating creatures, the way the energy streams pulsed, the patterns in the shifting skies. Humans had always survived because they could notice the small details others overlooked, and that skill was saving her now. She had learned quickly. This dimension was alive. Not alive like Earth's forests or oceans, but alive in a conscious way. Every movement, every sound seemed to respond to her. When she reached out and touched a glowing vine-like structure, it wrapped gently around her wrist. Not to trap her, but as if to test her intentions. She smiled. "You're curious too," she whispered softly. "Just like me." The first test came in the form of creatures. They were unlike any animal or being she had seen before. Translucent, with multiple limbs and soft pulses of light traveling through their forms. They didn't speak, at least not in words. Instead, they communicated with waves of light and subtle vibrations in the air. At first, Alara observed from a distance. She remembered the warnings from human exploration manuals. Do not act first. Understand first. She mimicked their movements, waving her hands, spinning slowly, trying to match the patterns she saw. The creatures paused, hesitated, and then began moving in sync with her. It was a kind of dance, a silent understanding forming across species, across worlds. Humans had survived not because they were strongest, but because they could learn, adapt, and communicate where others could not. For hours, she moved through this strange dimension, learning the language of motion, of light, and of energy. She discovered plants that sang when touched, rocks that floated gently away when approached, and rivers that could carry her across impossible distances without effort. Her scientific mind cataloged everything. Her human intuition guided her. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Cale Rinn refused to sleep. He pored over every data point, running simulations with the limited traces left by the portal. Each anomaly confirmed what he already hoped. Alara was alive. But more than that, she was thriving in a dimension humans had no right to enter. He realized something extraordinary. Humans weren't just observers or explorers. Humans, when pushed beyond limits, could thrive in ways no other species could. Back in the alien world, Alara reached a valley filled with floating crystals. Each crystal hummed a different note when touched. She experimented carefully, pressing them in sequences. Slowly, she discovered that the crystals formed a pattern, an interface, a kind of language. She realized this dimension wasn't chaotic. It had rules, but rules that were completely alien. And once again, humans' curiosity and ingenuity were her tools. Patterns, she said softly. Everything has a pattern. As she spoke, the crystals responded, glowing brighter, spinning and pulsing in harmony with her thoughts. A passage opened, a tunnel of light that seemed to invite her further. She didn't hesitate. Humans were born to explore. It was instinct. Fear had its place, but curiosity always outweighed it. The next challenge came in the form of a massive entity, taller than the largest skyscraper she had ever seen on Earth. Its skin rippled with liquid metal, and its eyes glowed like twin suns. It didn't move quickly, but its presence alone made the air vibrate. Alara froze, but only for a heartbeat. She knew that humans didn't survive by running. They survived by thinking, observing, and finding solutions where others saw only danger. She raised her hands slowly, palms forward, showing no aggression. "I mean no harm," she said, letting the vibrations of her voice carry across the strange space. To her astonishment, the entity tilted its head. Its massive form shimmered and light waves rippled toward her. It was curious, interested, not hostile. Alara's heart raced, but her mind worked even faster. Humans had survived against predators, environmental disasters, and wars. Survival meant understanding the world better than the world understood you. She reached out toward the entity, mimicking its slow, graceful movements. Step by step, she mirrored its gestures. Then something incredible happened. The entity bent down slightly, lowering its massive form closer to her. The energy around them harmonized. It was as if the being was communicating approval, or at least recognition. For the first time, Alara felt that humans were not just surviving in this dimension. They could influence it, interact with it, and even earn its trust. Hours became days, or maybe they were minutes. Time flowed strangely here. Alara had lost all sense of the passage of time. Yet she felt no fear. Humans had always adapted to extremes. Freezing temperatures, vast deserts, deep oceans. This dimension, however alien, was no different. Adaptation was the human strength, and Alara Quinn had it in full measure. Meanwhile, Dr. Cale noticed strange energy fluctuations in the lab back on Earth. Small signals, barely detectable, matched the patterns of Alara's device. He realized she was leaving traces, messages of survival. Somehow, even in a place where laws of physics were alien, humans could leave their mark, could communicate, could navigate. It was the ultimate proof of human resilience. In the alien dimension, Alara discovered a city, or something that resembled one. Towers of light floated in midair, connected by bridges of energy. The beings she had encountered before moved in organized patterns, constructing and shaping their world in ways that seemed almost magical. She realized the dimension itself was intelligent, testing those who entered it. She approached carefully. Humans were explorers, not invaders. Observation first, adaptation second, interaction third. She offered gestures of peace, showing her willingness to understand rather than conquer. Slowly, the beings responded, allowing her to move closer, touching structures without harm. Alara smiled, realizing that humans' greatest gift was curiosity paired with empathy. Where machines might fail, where other species might retreat, humans could survive by thinking creatively and connecting emotionally. She tested her skills, manipulating energy streams, forming patterns that made the beings pause and react. Each small success built her confidence. Humans, she realized, could thrive anywhere, not because of strength but because of mind, heart, and courage. One night, or what she assumed was night, the sky above her shimmered in endless colors. The floating beings gathered, pulsating in synchronized patterns. Alara felt a strange warmth, a recognition. She had passed the first trials. The dimension was watching, learning, responding. Humans had impressed it, not with force, but with ingenuity. She laughed softly, a sound that echoed beautifully in the alien winds. Humans survive, she said aloud, almost to herself. Because we explore. Because we learn. Because we never stop trying. Back on Earth, Kale monitored the signals with awe. The readings were unlike anything he had seen. Alara wasn't just surviving. She was thriving, adapting to a dimension that should have destroyed her instantly. His mind raced with possibilities. Humans, he realized, were special, not because of machines, weapons, or technology, but because of their intelligence, resilience, and courage. Alara's journey through the alien world had only just begun, but she already understood something fundamental. Humanity could face the unknown and bend it to understanding. She would learn its secrets, navigate its challenges, and return to Earth with knowledge that no other species could claim. And somewhere in the distance, she felt the first hint of a path home forming, a bridge between the alien dimension and her world. Humans had survived impossible odds before, and now, in this strange, shifting sky, they would do it again. The city was quiet that night. Neon lights reflected softly on wet streets and hovering vehicles glided silently above. The lab on the 77th floor of the glass tower was dark, except for the faint pulse of the portal device. Dr. Kale Rhin stood there tense and exhausted, eyes fixed on the shimmering field that hovered in the air. He had spent countless hours studying the energy signals left behind by Alara Quinn. Each fluctuation was a sign that she was alive. Somehow she had survived in a dimension where humans should have perished instantly, but he knew one thing deep in his heart. Humans, when driven by curiosity and courage, were impossible to stop. The portal flickered. It pulsed softly, growing brighter with every second. Kale held his breath. He had been right. She was returning, and then she appeared. Alara stepped through the shimmering light as if she had never left. Her hair floated slightly, caught in the residual energy. Her clothes bore strange patterns like the reflections of alien skies, but her posture, her smile, radiated calm and confidence. She looked around the lab as if she had merely returned from a walk, not a journey across impossible worlds. Kale ran toward her, relief and disbelief warring in his mind. Alara, you're back. She smiled, soft and radiant, and shook her head. I never really left, Kale, she said. Her voice carried a strange resonance, almost melodic, as if it had been shaped by the alien dimension itself. I was learning, observing, understanding, and now, I'm ready to share what humans can do. Her words were simple, but they carried a weight that Kale could feel in his bones. Humans had always survived because they could adapt, think, and endure. Alara had proven it beyond any doubt. She had crossed a realm where physics and logic bent, and she had thrived. Not because she was stronger, faster, or armed with weapons, but because she was human. Show me, Kale said, almost breathless. Alara gestured toward a device she had carried through the portal. It was small, metallic, and pulsing with light. She had collected energy readings, patterns, and even signals from the beings she had encountered. This dimension. It tests everything that enters. Intelligence, patience, creativity, and humans. She smiled. Humans have something no other species does. Curiosity, courage, and empathy. That is how we survive and thrive. Kyle listened, fascinated. Humans had always been explorers, but Alara had taken it to a level no one had imagined. She had not only survived, but had learned, adapted, and interacted with a completely alien intelligence. Outside the lab, the city's lights glimmered, unaware of the breakthrough that had just occurred. But inside, Alara and Kale were rewriting what it meant to be human. Alara recounted her journey in the simplest terms, for she knew the story itself was proof of humanity's strength. She had floated through skies that bent like water, rivers of energy that carried her, and forests of crystal that sang when touched. She had met beings larger than buildings, creatures that communicated through light and motion, and entities that could have crushed her if they wished. But she had not been afraid. Humans survive because they think, observe, and act. They find patterns, learn rules, and adapt faster than the world expects. Every step she took was careful, every movement deliberate. Humans survive impossible odds not because they are unafraid, but because they can understand and respond to danger better than anything else. Kyle watched, absorbing every detail. The human mind, he realized, was an extraordinary tool. It could decode alien languages, solve problems no other species could, and find solutions in chaos. Alara had been a perfect example of this. You really did all of this alone? Kale asked, incredulous. Alara laughed softly, a sound that carried confidence and warmth. Alone, yes, but humans are never truly alone. Our minds, our instincts, and our willpower guide us. That is why we survive where others fail. That is why we explore, adapt, and conquer challenges that seem impossible. Then she paused. Her eyes glimmered with a hint of wonder. And we leave our mark even where nothing seems permanent. I left traces, Kale. Signs that we were here, that we can thrive. That dimension tested me, yes, but I learned to communicate with it, to influence it, to survive within it. Kale nodded slowly, understanding dawning. Humans were not just survivors, they were innovators, explorers, and negotiators. Where other species might panic, humans would think. Where others might retreat, humans would adapt. Alara was living proof. She led Kale to a console and connected the small device she had brought. The readings were astonishing. Patterns of energy, alien signals, and complex structures unfolded on the screens. The data was a treasure trove, offering insights that could revolutionize human understanding of the universe. And this, she said, pointing at the readings, is proof. Humans can interact with the impossible. We can survive where others cannot, and we can bring that knowledge back home. Kyle leaned back, awestruck. Humans had always been curious. They had always faced danger head-on, from oceans to deserts to mountains. But this was beyond anything. This was a new frontier, a realm where human intellect and courage were unmatched. Outside, the city was quiet, but the implications were enormous. Humanity could now reach beyond the known universe in ways no machine or alien species could. All it took was curiosity, courage, and creativity, the essence of humanity itself. Alara walked to the window, looking down at the sprawling city below. The streets, the lights, the people, they had no idea that tonight a human had returned from a world no one else could survive in. And yet she felt no pride, only a quiet determination. Humanity had the potential to reach the stars, to explore the unknown, and to survive against unimaginable odds. Kale joined her at the window. "You're smiling," he said. "I am," she replied. "Because we are human. Because we survive. Because we explore. And because there are more worlds out there waiting for us.
More mysteries.
More challenges. And we are ready for them." The lab's lights flickered, reflecting in her eyes. The portal device hummed softly, still pulsing with the energy of another dimension. Alara had returned carrying knowledge, experience, and proof of humanity's unmatched ingenuity. That night at midnight, the city slept unaware of the triumph unfolding in the tower above. But in the lab, humanity's future had been rewritten. Humans were explorers. Humans were survivors. Humans were unstoppable when curiosity, courage, and intelligence were combined. Alara turned to Kale, smiling that same radiant smile she had worn in the alien dimension. "We've only just begun," she said. And in her eyes, Kale saw the truth. Humans would face the unknown, they would conquer it, and they would thrive where no one else could. For the first time, he truly understood. Humanity had survived impossible odds countless times before. And now, with Alara's return, humanity's place in the universe was secure. Not because of technology or luck, but because humans were uniquely, undeniably, extraordinary. The city outside remained quiet. But inside, on the 77th floor of the glass tower, a human smiled. An ordinary human doing the impossible. And through her courage, intelligence, and curiosity, she reminded the world why humans, above all, could face the unknown and triumph.